The Magnetic Empire, Episode 7, The Network of Possibility. If the system exists as a structured interaction with Earth's natural forces, then it should not appear in isolated locations, but as a distributed network. Across continents, from deserts to forests, mountains to coastlines, patterns begin to repeat. Not identical in form, but consistent in principle. Pyramids, ziggurats, stepped mounds, star forts, and megalithic platforms appear across widely separated cultures. While their styles differ, their underlying geometry often reflects similar structural logic: elevation, alignment, containment, and directional orientation. These are not just monuments. They behave like functional nodes within a larger environmental framework. The same continuity appears in subterranean spaces. Chambers, tunnels, and carved passageways extend beneath many of these sites, often linking water systems, mineral layers, or void spaces in the ground. These features suggest a second layer of operation below the surface, where pressure, airflow, and conductivity are naturally more stable and controllable. Across this network, material selection is consistent. Quartz-rich stone, magnetite deposits, copper traces, and layered mineral formations appear repeatedly. These materials are not uniform across all regions, but wherever they occur, they coincide with structural complexity. This suggests that local geology was not incidental, but integrated into function, used to influence charge, vibration, and resonance within each site. Water systems form another repeating layer. Canals, aqueducts, reservoirs, terraces, and drainage networks appear engineered to regulate flow, pressure, and storage. In many locations, water is not simply transported. It is staged, elevated, or cycled through controlled gradients. This introduces hydrostatic behavior into the system, allowing potential energy to accumulate and redistribute through environmental interaction. At a global scale, these elements begin to resemble a distributed architecture: surface structures, subsurface chambers, water regulation systems, and material nodes all working together, not as isolated inventions, but as parts of a coordinated environmental interface. Within this framework, symbols become important again. Step glyphs, spirals, branching forms, and repetitive geometric carvings appear across continents. These symbols are not confined to one culture or time period. Instead, they recur in different forms across regions that had no documented contact. Their consistency suggests they represent something functional, possibly sequences or operational states within the system itself. The arc appears again within this distributed pattern, depicted as vessels, boxes, and transported containers across multiple traditions. It consistently appears in contexts involving movement, placement, and controlled interaction. In system terms, the arc functions as a localized regulator, an interface point where environmental energy, material conditions, and structural geometry converge. Rather than generating energy, it appears to define how energy transitions between states within the network. Where structures concentrate environmental forces and water systems stabilize pressure, the arc regulates coupling, ensuring that interaction occurs in controlled conditions rather than uncontrolled release. This becomes especially significant when considering atmospheric behavior. Across many elevated sites, towers, platforms, step structures, and isolated high points, there is a consistent relationship with electrical activity in the atmosphere. Lightning, ionization, and static buildup are natural expressions of planetary charge balance. In this system, those events may not be separate phenomena, but part of a larger interaction cycle. Elevated structures may have acted as passive organizers of these charge differentials, guiding where and how atmospheric discharge occurred. When combined with grounded foundations and conductive materials below, a vertical energy pathway emerges, linking sky, surface, and subsurface layers. In this context, the network is not just horizontal across geography, it is vertical through environmental layers. The system operates across three domains: atmosphere above, structured surface nodes, subsurface pressure, and material layers. Each layer interacts with the others through gradients: electrical, thermal, hydraulic, and mechanical. The architecture does not force these interactions, it channels them. When viewed together, the repetition across continents begins to suggest a consistent design logic. Capture environmental variation concentrated through structure, regulated through interface points, and redistributed through controlled pathways. The arc is central to that regulation, not symbolic, but functional, not isolated, but networked, and not unique to one culture, but echoed across many. What emerges is not a collection of ancient mysteries, but a distributed system, adapted to geography, materials, and climate, yet unified in principle. A planetary scale framework that engages directly with the natural forces of Earth. The question is no longer whether the pattern exists, it is how much of it is still active, because even if the structures are silent, the environment they interact with is not. The atmosphere still charges, water still moves under pressure, the ground still conducts, and the materials still respond. Which means the network, if real, was never truly disconnected, only unrecognized.